Healing crystals, skincare routines, knitting a sweater, fitting in jeans. With Katie and Sarah, no need to worry, you're on a lady journey.
No idea. Anyway,
Great to be here, Lady Journey.
Lady Journey.
Welcome.
Guys, we want to say thank you for everyone that subscribed to our podcast.
Thank you. We got up to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. How awesome is that? And it's because people were helping. So thank you so much. You guys are the best.
It's also really funny when you're like, we need a few more subscribers so we can start putting ads that will annoy you.
Thank you, and we're so sorry. But if we're just putting a little teeny tiny bit of ads, it's nothing crazy,
Not absurd.
Or you're not supposed to say crazy now, but nothing mentally ill.
We can't say crazy.
I don't know. I heard that.
I
heard
know.
that it's because I don't want to offend.
Yes, I never want to offend.
That is my psychosis. I'm offended by myself.
Yes. But if you guys don't want ads, you know what you can do. I love that we ask so much from you. You can join our Patreon at the lowest level, and you'll get the videos with no, that's the $10 tier, right?
The videos go to the $10 tier, but the bonus content goes to the $5.
Yes. So and that's every Saturday.
Every Saturday. It's only the same amount of money as Netflix. Well, it's clearly worth it.
The same kind of content.
Now we've had a lot of people joining the Patreon lately, so we want to say thank you so much, and we want to do our gem dedication. How cool is this? Now, first of all, let me say something amazing. We've had a sponsor of the gem dedication. It is the yoga studio of my friend. Full disclosure, it is my friend's studio. But it is an amazing studio, and it's called Greenwood Lake Yoga. It is in Greenwood Lake, New Jersey / New York. It's right on the border of the states. So she has donated all the crystals for the next few episodes. So we want to thank Greenwood Lake Yoga. Please check it out if you're in the area. They have a lot of amazing yoga retreats. I've went on one. The food was incredible, which you wouldn't really think of that at a yoga retreat. But
yeah,
it was
barbecue.
Lovely. Oh, we had a great time. We did a full day of yoga classes, also sound baths. We did a hike. We did a meditation. And then we ended it all off with a fancy dinner at a gorgeous lakeside restaurant. And then everyone got hammered. It's very yogic of us.
I feel like athletic or workout culture is also, for some reason, Venn diagrams with heavy drinkers.
Oh, you have to hydrate. You have to hydrate yourself. So I want to thank Greenwood Lake Yoga. Please do check it out at their website, greenwoodlakeyoga.com. Now, how gorgeous is this? It's a citrine sphere.
It looks like a planet.
It looks like Mercury, right?
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. I want to dedicate this one to Lorelei, who is one of our newest Patreon members. Lorelei, this citrine sphere is for you. This energizes and opens intuition. Get it, Lorelei? Yes. And I'm
worried about this.
I know it is about to break into 1,000 pieces. Look at this other gorgeous. Oh, and then that's the other thing I wanted to mention about the Greenwood Lake Yoga Studio. The reason that they donated these crystals is because, in addition to being a yoga studio, they also have a crystal and magical wares boutique in the store, because it's got 2 levels. So these are some, if you want to go for your yoga practice and then do a little shopping.
I just love that this crystal dedication really took off, that it's become our life, and that what if we don't do any more episodes and we just go into crystal talk.
This is Hi, welcome to Crystal Journey. I'm fine with it. That is a path that I am willing to go down.
I like this little guy. Okay, we'll get to that in a moment.
That's for later. This one, look at this gorgeous, insane. This is a lapis slab. This is gorgeous. It's lapis. I'm dedicating this lapis to Gregory. Welcome aboard, Gregory. This lapis will bring you wisdom and inner peace. So enjoy your Tuesday or Monday if you're on YouTube, Gregory.
I like this one because it looks like a countertop.
It does.
It could be a countertop.
I've never seen a slab of lapis like that. Lapis is it's pretty rare, actually. It's one of the only naturally occurring colors of blue in nature.
Interesting.
Yeah. So welcome to Lady Journey, everybody.
Oh, okay. So these are for later.
These are for later.
Okay.
I'm just
so
having
excited.
these here as a little this whole month. Tantalizing. This journey that we're going on today in honor of the gem donation from Greenwood Lake Yoga, we're going to be doing an entire episode on yoga.
I know. We did get people writing in asking if we would go into a yoga journey.
And I said, white women talking about yoga, unheard of.
Here for it.
Oh, hello, my specialty.
Apparently we've colonized it.
Yeah, we did. But I have practiced yoga for really about 20 years now. And so I have a lot of fun yoga moments. And we're also going to be going into some of the dark sides of yoga.
Yeah, yoga can get dark. I think any group setting can take a turn if it happens for years.
Anything can be a cult.
Yes.
I think and this is one.
This
as
is
well.
one. Yes, you guys are in a cult,
and we're your masters.
Yeah, we are your masters. And if you could refrain from talking from your friends and family, that would be amazing.
Oh, that was something I saw on the. Did I talk to you about the Chris D'Elia documentary?
No, I actually wanted to watch it. It felt like it was supposed to take down his career, and I don't think it did anything.
I think it's done nothing, but it's very fun because he jokes on his podcast about having a cult often. That's like one of his runners. But then he was actually really trying to start one up, according to the documentary.
Yeah, we're not.
But we are. Join the Patreon.
I just don't have the energy to groom people.
No, it's too much. It's like I can barely mentor myself,
Exactly. And I'm always breaking my own promises. I can't hold anybody accountable.
I know.
That's a lot of work.
I can't even eat healthy for one day. I know. They always say that. They're like, you have to start keeping the promises to yourself. I'm like, but in the moment, I want to make a different promise to myself for a croissant.
Yeah, I have a sub-promise that needs to get done before the major promise.
It's self-love. Croissants are self-love.
But I always remember that at the end of yoga, they would always, sometimes they're always nice at yoga. And that's what I love when they're like, if you just want to do child pose today, then that's, and you're like, yeah, I'm in class. I kind of feel weird if I just did child pose for 45 minutes or corpse pose.
Yeah. That is not my type of personality. I'm like, if we're doing headstands, I'm going into a fucking headstand. If I need to wrench my neck, that I will have an injury for the rest of my life. Okay.
I know, but the thing, I always liked at the end of class, they'd always be like, just remember, always be nice to yourself. And then I would just be lying there in corpse pose where I'm like, you have no idea how nice. I'm always breaking. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay, Sarah. You don't need to go to do that.
Yeah. Let's go into child's pose again. Yeah. Well, when I first started yoga in New York, I did yoga when I was in college and in high school a little bit as well. But I took several classes in college, mostly vinyasa. But when I moved to New York, I started doing Iyengar yoga, which I love it as a type because in Iyengar, the whole form of yoga is based on like taking you through each posture and describing in great detail of like how your muscles should be moving and like the isometric. So they do like a lot of inversions, a lot of stuff against the wall. And I remember I took an intermediate class, which I had no business being in, but I was like, I've been doing yoga for 6 months.
I know, I've been doing it for a long time now, probably several times a week. And then I go on Pinterest and I see yoga moves that I'm like, I don't know how to get my leg over on my elbow and hold myself up like that.
I know. It's like, when did you learn how to turn your vagina inside out?
I know.
I love the TikTok yoga. It's like yoga, but actually it's like a dog whistle for OnlyFans. It's
yes.
Like, join my OnlyFans. I'll show you how to do the downward dog, wink, wink.
Yes.
And it's just like their butt.
Yeah. So there is a... Yeah.
That is what I look like when I do yoga, by the way. That's the only thing. I'm not wearing bright, insane looking leggings that I clearly got on clearance.
Exactly. I know. I'm always like in an outfit that looks like I got dressed out of the Lost and Found box.
Hello.
Yeah.
But so I was in my class, I was doing my Iyengar, and we were going into handstands, which I had done at the time, but I was really struggling. So the teacher tried to help me and she was like, kick up. And I kicked up and I kicked her in the head. And that'll bring you out of the zen that the yoga experience has created. That will take you right out.
Did she manage to twist that into self-love? Like, just remember, if you kick the instructor in the head, it's good promise. Like,
yeah, that's great. Turn the other cheek.
Yeah, great intention.
She victim blamed herself. She was like, no, it was my fault. It was my fault. I was like, well, I never went back to that class.
There are certain instructors. I even have this when I do online yoga. I press shuffle because I sometimes once I start, if you do the same thing over and over again, I'm always like, here we go. Oh, they're gonna want me to do this pose at this moment, so I don't like
sun
it.
Salutations.
Yeah, that I try to shuffle it, but there are some instructors where I'm like, absolutely not.
Oh, I know.
No.
That is one of my big pet peeves about doing yoga is like some instructors, and I have to say the best yoga teacher I ever had in my entire life, and I've had dozens, was at a gym. It was a guy.
I did his.
At the Astoria Fitness Club.
Yes, he moved fast though.
I thought he was so great. It was definitely a class that you need to know yoga, but he would come in, take his pants off. He had shorts on underneath. That's important to note. But he was always like taking his pants off like immediately. And then he would just go into the pose. He didn't do anything of like making it about himself, which that I find that so triggering when a yoga teacher comes in like, today when I was drinking my matcha, I had a thought. And you're like, come on,
yes.
Sally.
Yes.
Move it along.
Well, especially when you do online yoga and there's people that have little stories where one lady's like, my right side is tighter because I was walking my dog the other day. And
my God.
I start like mouthing her story because I've heard it over and over again. Yeah.
That's what I have with yoga for Adrian. I kind of can't stand her. She's
insists, the paid one, right? That's the more popular one that people do.
She's a yoga star, and I do get why certain people like her because she has a non-threatening white woman vibe that's like yoga can be for everyone, but she calls her dog her Guru Benji. I do one, and I will say like her sequences, I do a sequence of hers that I find it so relieving. It's like deep stretch yoga. It's a great thing to do on like Sunday nights, but like she just goes off into these monologues of like, I just asked myself, like, people say like, are you flexible? It's like, no, when I'm in these shapes, I like surprise myself. And people say, were you that flexible? I say, no way, Jose. And it's like, I don't give a fuck about you. I don't care who you are.
It almost seems like backdoor bragging in a weird way of like, people are like, wow.
Yes.
How are you so flexible?
How are you so enlightened?
I know, where you're like, okay, I don't need that's interjecting some personality in there, and it kind of like takes away. End up being like, what is this?
What is this? Now it's just like a talk show about how great you are.
Yeah.
And that's what this is. So I guess no judgment.
No judgment.
But yeah, that's why I kind of dropped off on classes for a while, because I had like great yoga teachers who would be like, give a little personality. Like I used to do this yoga work study. This was in like 2008 or 9 that I did this. It was in Midtown Manhattan at a place called Yoga Sutra. And they had 3 styles of yoga, Iyengar, Vinyasa, and they also had Ashtanga. And it was great. And like the teachers were all like I think like when you run into like a bad teacher, it's often somebody who just is new to yoga and they are doing it for the wrong reasons of like just wanting to be this enlightened person.
Well, I also feel like sometimes what yoga does bring is there are people that they thought that teaching yoga would be a supplemental job for their other job.
Yeah.
And I've picked up on bitterness.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. And then, so I kind of always prefer the teacher that like, this is what they like to do. This is their calling.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really enjoy yoga, and I also really enjoy teaching yoga and not just doing it,
Yeah.
I have a great teacher at my new gym, Crunch, which is everything to me.
Yes.
I love Crunch, and I am a cruncher. I'm a crunch person. I love it so much. I've done 2 yoga classes. The first one I did, I knew immediately that it was going to be terrible. I could tell by the amount of bracelets that the teacher was wearing. It's like each bracelet, you wear a bracelet for each thing that's wrong with you. Almost. Yes. She had thousands of bracelets.
Her red flags.
Yeah. Jingle jangle. Bracelets are red flags for the blind.
We talked about that on the live one. this is just a sidetrack of like, there is something they've said with like people that are in like drug addiction or alcoholism.
Oh, yes.
Like the Johnny Depp of wearing tons of scarves and jewelry. It's like a distraction for them, their addiction issues.
That's hilarious.
It's a subconscious thing that's going on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think she was distracting from the fact that she did not know how to teach yoga because
Yes.
it was nuts. And then I went to another class. Now I'm hooked. This other lady is amazing. And this is exactly what I like. I like a nod to the tradition and the reasons that we are practicing yoga, the mind-body connection. I like just a nod to it. And I know that's me saying that as a white woman practicing yoga in the gym. I know it has a rich history and it has been kind of bastardized. This is just what my preference is. Just like a nod. I just like an om. I like the teacher teaching. I like them telling you what to do. I like them guiding you through. I don't love like I used to take a yoga class here in Astoria where they would go around and be like, now everyone can share. And then it's like, we would go around and we would share before the class. And it's like, inevitably what would happen is like an older woman from the neighborhood would just share her tale of like
too much sharing.
They were out of tuna at the store, and it's like, and now it's 15 minutes, and they would get to me and I'd be like, my share is like, I'm fully upset now because this is ridiculous, and I also don't think that this is in the yogic tradition.
And this lady just trauma dumped on us.
Yeah. It's like, I'm sorry that Jeanette is lonely.
I know. I just came here to sabotage everyone's time because you're a captive to what my stories are and you have nowhere to go.
Well, I think that's the difference between the yoga studio versus the gym yoga. Like gym yoga, and I do think gym yoga can be really good and really like, in a traditional form more so than the studio.
Yeah, I think there's perks to both because I am such a skeptic, but I do open myself to having like spiritual moments in the more spiritual yoga. But when it comes down to it, I'm just like, I just want ripped arms.
Like, just give me Michelle Obama's arms.
I want some slight muscle definition. So I don't go in there too much for the spiritual journey. But there are times where I get jealous where they were like, sometimes I've cried when I've done a hip opener. And I'm like, what?
Oh, I've done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I do it as a form of exercise, but for me, I also do it. The spiritual element for me is not so much of like, this is my church, but it's more of the mental rest that I get from focusing only on the movement and focusing on the, small different movements of my body, like rotating your hips and like rotating your, doing the isometric rotations. So I do get a lot of mental rest from it where I just feel like a weight spin off of me, or like if I'm worrying about something, like in the moment, I'm like, no, I just need to focus on my movements.
Yes. It does help you live in the moment where you're not harboring resentments or like,
yes,
where you're like, I just have to hold my arm up.
Yeah.
And it's painful right now.
Just focus on, if you're doing that thing in your mind, which I love to do apparently, like fighting someone in your mind, where you're like, I'm gonna tell off that bitch.
Oh, they'll be sorry.
Like, oh, you thought you could order waffles when I said I was getting waffles?
Yeah.
And then when you go into yoga, especially when you're in, exactly in something that's like a balancing pose or something where you're like holding a really tricky pose, it's like your mind keeps trying to go back to that. I have problems with like fixating, trying to fixate on that, but then the physical pain forces you to be in the present moment, focus on your breathing. So that is one reason I love yoga.
I do too. And also to me, I had to start doing it because I got bad plantar fasciitis, and it's really good for your fascia.
Yeah.
Which I've heard is like just one long connective tissue in your body. And I don't know where the science of this is, but I saw a lady on TikTok, so it's true.
Yes.
Say something about like working on your fascia and like yoga and athletic activity is good for your facial symmetry.
Ooh, and I love saying fascia.
I do too.
My fascia is so good today. My fascia is very, very strong.
But I found that when I started doing yoga instead of running, I was getting more tone than I was with running.
Yes. Yeah. It tones you so well. It's like the body weight. And now I started yoga. I forgot I wanted to share this because I actually started yoga because when I was in high school, I had like really, really bad hip and back pain. Like my right hip is more turned out than my left for whatever reason. And I think that I have like a musculature weakness. So I would get like really horrific hip pain. My hip would be out of alignment. I'd be like limping. And I went to the chiropractor, but because I didn't have the like vocabulary to be like, my hip hurts, I would just say like, my pelvis hurts. And all the doctors were hearing like, not all the doctors. I mean, I went to like my pediatrician and then like a chiropractor, but they were hearing me say pelvic pain and being like, oh, well, you have an STD. Like pelvic pain means STD. I'm like, yeah, no, like something is wrong.
Yes.
Something's wrong. And they would just be like, I remember the chiropractor taught me like 3 stretches and was like, okay, like good to go out the door. And it was like, my hip was misaligned from my body, and I was in like chronic pain for like months, and then I finally started doing yoga, and what actually needed to happen was that like I needed to stretch, not just do like 3 stretches, but do like a series of stretches that stretch every element of the hip, because it's a huge joint in your body. I need to stretch the inner, the outer, the flexor, the back, like the glute, and I've had that hip pain still for years. It recurs like if I lift something heavy, or if I am like being a bitch. I don't know. Like it just pops up from time to time. But I do this great hip opening sequence. If you have hip pain, you must do it. It's called Jason Crandell Hip Openers. It's on YouTube. I've done it for years. It's a 25-minute series where he stretches every element of your hip. It's not something that's hard to do. It's not something that like is going to get you out of breath. It's something that has taken me from having like extreme pain to having no pain at all.
Yeah, and I also would assume that too, that with yoga, with the core stuff that you're doing with a lot of the planking and holding yourself up in downward dog, it probably like tightens everything. So it makes everything work as one better.
Yes, and I think it makes your vagina tighter too, honestly. Because they do like the
great
bandhas.
Pelvic floor is not drooping.
Yeah. Well, they do like I think they're called bandhas, which means a lock. It's a tightening of a muscle. So there's 3, I think. There's like
probably the Kegel one, right?
Yeah, the Kegel one, which is that's the root lock.
Yeah,
I think it's called Mula Bandha. And you just like, I had a yoga teacher. I remember one time that would be like, and you pull up on your anus, and now we're pulling, and go ahead, pull it. Oh, he would call it like the anus, or like the perineum, which is just like the taint. That's the medical term.
Yes. I've always assumed whenever they say pelvic floor, I'm like, I read you loud and clear.
I hear you. Yeah. I just did it right now. Oh my God.
Of course. It's a reflex. Anytime someone says Kegel, I do it immediately.
Hello. Now, you had yoga fashion on there. What did you want to say about the yoga fashion? Well,
first of all, I just could wear yoga fashion nonstop. It seems like what I feel like I'm a model.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I'm a model off duty.
Oh my gosh. I love pants that suck your body in.
Yes. Although some yoga outfits I've seen when worn out, like the sear sucking on the back with the booty, you're like, it's just like where you're naked.
Yes, I know. I've seen those too. Those were like the big viral TikTok leggings when they first came out, where it was just like you put them on and then it like molds your butt into this like huge shape.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's my birth control alarm, everyone, if you heard that.
Well, it's also the reason why also I like yoga is an easy workout to go if you do it after work. And then I would used to wear just like leggings underneath, or wear tops that I could wear to yoga. And then I would switch my jeans to leggings.
Yeah.
And then I could switch back to my jeans, and then I could go out and do spots for the rest of the night, where like regular workout, I can't ever do that.
Yeah, I feel like a regular workout, I'm so like blasted by just like going all the way that I'm just dead to the world after. In yoga, I'm kind of like, oh, hello, like I'm good.
And you're not breaking a sweat so bad that you actually have to change that. Maybe just like, I don't know, reapply a deodorant and then like maybe a light swab of perfume or something, and then you're ready to go out. Like I like the easiness of like to fit in a workout in the city, because I used to have to go from a day job, and then I hated that there was no time to work out and then I found yoga to the people, and then there was one like 2 blocks away from my work. I could just go do that and then go out and do spots for the rest of the night.
Hop in. I went to a yoga to the people one time. It was not I remember the teacher. I hated the teacher.
Yeah. Well, we were talking, you know how we were talking about like certain teachers, like there was a teacher there that used to clap in between positions, and I always hated that one. Certain teachers have certain quirks.
Yes.
That you're like, no. Yeah. I had some of my favorites where I'm like, oh, cool, Richard's here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Richard.
Or if you went to the other studios. But what I also hated about yoga, at least studios in New York, so you have these Zen moments for a full hour where you're just like connected to your mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
And then you can only change within like a 4x4 foot radius or square footage, and with 100 people in the same space.
Yes. Just
so I'm immediately calling everyone C words in my head. I'm like, well, there it goes.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I would get that when I would do at Yoga Sutra. I would do exactly have like a wonderful, wonderful time there, and then I would have to take the train back, and so it would be like, and goodbye. Everything is awful all over again.
Yes, it's hard to go into that. But this, I guess, what can segue into. So I was doing yoga to the people.
Yes, yeah.
And now we've been talking about like when yoga goes wrong.
The dark sides of yoga.
The dark sides, which is always my favorite.
Oh my gosh.
Anytime a thing is positive and then it goes bad.
Yeah, I feel like yoga really lends itself to that in a lot of ways because number one, it is like from a different culture, you know, so it's like it's already been colonized and like commodified, you know, so I think it's really, and I do feel that there is a pain for people that are like, oh my God, I'm in love with this. This is what I want to do with my life. And then you're like, oh, wait. Now I am a small business owner, you know, and now I have a yoga studio that I have to run, and I'm trying to be ethical, but I also need to make money so I can live and have health insurance for my employees, you know? So it's already lends itself to, it's like this ancient spiritual practice that now we're like, and I'll have one yoga, please.
Yes. Yes, it has been commodified full-heartedly. And
when you mix money and spirituality, that's when you get a cult.
It also lends itself to grifters. So that was the thing with yoga to the people. I started doing it during pandemic because I found I was doing it like a few years before pandemic, but then I found them online on YouTube, and it was free. And then there was something, I think I went into the comments section, and then I was like, I had no idea that it was a toxic workplace.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Well, there's two.
I feel like every workplace is toxic, though. It's like, that is.
Like, what workplace isn't?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't want to be here.
No, it was really interesting. Well, like the guy that started it, and then he got married to one of the instructors. They were holding like classes, and you had to do something like an insane amount of yoga in order to get certified to get paid like $10 an hour.
Wow.
And then they were doing like, I think they had a few suicide issues.
Oh my God.
Because it was like the whole thing of like, it's kind of like torture like things end up becoming torture techniques. Like one class that you had to hold your arm up for some insane amount of hours. And then it was the feeling of like, if you can't do this, then maybe you're not made for this. Like you're a weak-minded person. And it was like falling into that trap. And I think when you get certain things like that mixed in with like people that are just like lost souls, they gravitate to that stuff. And then they feel like this is their a meaning in life, and then when they're not able to sustain it or whatever, or get duped or being told that maybe they don't want it enough, it's like now you're in a dangerous territory.
Yeah, when somebody's like, it's like you're teaching people how to do this ancient spiritual practice. Like you shouldn't be like the king of the town. Like,
yes,
that actually has nothing to do with exercising or like the mind-body connection. And I think like I've heard of that in other instances too. Like it is kind of funny because yoga in a way, like especially for me, and I think a lot of people have this experience of like going to it, having healing, to be like, oh my God, I have no more back pain. Like, thank God. Like actually all I have to do to not have back pain is just do yoga one time a week where I'm like moving my joints, like releasing the synovial fluid, like flushing out my system. And but then like as you continue to progress and go more and more yoga, like there's been a lot of instances where people are doing yoga and their teacher's always saying like, go further, go further, go further. And then they get their hamstring is ruptured.
Yes.
And it's like, oh, you've now taken it so athletic. And you're like trying to get the splits, trying to like just keep going, trying to push yourself, that like it's actually now you're right back where you started and you cannot walk.
Yes, especially with hot yoga. I've heard like if you have ACL issues, you can really do some damage back to your knee again.
I've never done hot yoga. I just don't think that I because the type of people that do hot yoga are like Mike, you know, where he's like, you just get in there, and you force yourself through it. Yeah.
You don't deserve joy.
Yeah, you don't deserve cold yoga.
Yeah, like, I used to do hot yoga and I used to enjoy it, or I like the feeling afterwards, but you are going through an intense amount of pain and you're lightly like, I have to barf. But I stopped doing it because it was 90 minutes and I was like, that is so long for a workout.
Too long.
It was very expensive. You'd go to a class and you're like, if I did this on a regular basis, I would be bankrupt.
Yeah.
And then I found out that it's not necessarily good for you, and I found through vinyasa you can get your body temperature hot naturally anyway.
Yeah, I think the thing about hot yoga, it does actually cause your muscles to stretch in a way that they wouldn't normally stretch, so it's more possible for you to overstretch. Again, I have never done it. That's just something that I have read about it. But I mean, speaking of the dark side of yoga, like I saw that Bikram documentary on Netflix and woo, that is a doozy.
Yeah, it's as you said, anytime you're involved in something and then there's one head figure, that's a no-no.
An eccentric head figure who's like, you know, all of a sudden
driving
like,
Mercedes.
Yeah, doing weird stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's like he really
private jets.
He really commodified it to the point that you're like, oh wow, you're making huge amounts of money. Which it's like, I actually have nothing. I have nothing against like building a successful business. It was more of the. Well, he was like a predator. He was a sexual predator.
Yes.
So I have a more problem with, molesting people while they're like trying to do downward facing dog, which you're like, it's hard enough. It is hard enough.
I'm already in a weird compromising position.
You guys have to check out that documentary if you haven't seen it, because
he's still, isn't those classes around the world still being like,
people
not taught, but like he has seminars.
I didn't know that.
Your own like studio.
Oh, he's still doing it.
Well, I thought that was at the end of the documentary. Like he had just gone to South America and just started that business model there.
I do remember that part, and they were like trying to serve him papers, and he's like, "You don't serve me."
Yeah,
which hilarious response, I have to say. But wait, what was I going to say about the
Bikram?
The Bikram. Oh my God, it's out of my mind.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Yoga forever.
Yeah, I just heard that doc, but we've seen so many kind of at like the Keith Raniere world. Are you get it back?
Yes, I got it back. Good. I was going to say, I love that doc and everyone should watch it, because I cannot watch true crime anymore because I think that it's so depraved and it just makes me feel so icky. But now I love true crime that's not killing.
Yes.
So like if you molest
Frauds.
a grown woman, want to hear about it.
Yeah.
If you're, I'm really more into like scams now, where I'm like, no one gets hurt except for your wife who you deceived for 25 years.
Yes, but I love a good fraud case.
Oh, love it. Oh my gosh, love it.
Man leading double life.
Yeah, except for the Bernie Madoff documentary, which I'm still trying to watch on Netflix. It is so boring. I'm like, oh, this is why I could never have been in finance. I'm like, that could have been my career.
Yes.
Never mind, I'm asleep.
So boring.
Another dark side of yoga that I love, speaking of yoga fashion, is like, speaking of like the commodification of yoga
Lululemon,
too,
I
like,
think, is an evil entity.
Oh my God, why are your pants $1,000?
It's ridiculous, and it's just like, now it's just fashion. I don't even think you need it. And then my other option is like, just go to Old Navy where they exploit workers in India.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's so true. Well, I definitely don't think you need to buy a $100 pair of pants. But my biggest fashion gross out of yoga is the spiritual gangster merchandise. It's like,
I haven't heard of this.
Oh, it's just, I mean, that's just their slogan, and they put it on everything. And it's like, man, could you be appropriating any more cultures at once?
Yeah,
it is just so gross because it's like, as a white woman, I obviously am sensitive about the fact that, white women appropriate yoga, and there's that like stereotype of like going to yoga and you're Lululemon and then you're drinking Starbucks and you're awful and you like don't care about it,
Yeah, not knowing like the background practices of it and like the benefits.
Yeah, not knowing like, or, not just having a respect from the fact that it came from another place, And I think that now that stereotype is like less now, because I think people do yoga less now than other exercises. I think it's like not quite as trendy for white women as it used to be.
No, I don't know where I think we've moved on to Pilates.
Pilates or pole dancing.
Yeah. Although I could get into pole dancing. The artistry that they do and the body that they have from that is like amazing.
I'm doing a
But I don't want to turn anyone on.
Yeah, I want to do like that ribbon dancing. I'd be up for the ribbon dancing.
The gymnastics?
Yeah, like not like ribbon dancing, but like aerial acrobatics.
Yes.
Saying. Yeah, but I'm not that flexible.
I wish you was acceptable to do adult gymnastics.
Hi everyone, I'm tumbling.
Sorry for my bush.
Oh my gosh.
My big tits.
That's hilarious. Yeah,
I'm with like 13-year-olds.
Yeah. Well, when I was teaching at the enrichment center, we taught tumbling, and I would always do like yoga stuff, and I would like be like wowing everybody by going into like a headstand.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I was like devastating my neck, and I still have problems from that because I wasn't doing it right. But
yes.
The kids loved it.
Well, because I used to do gymnastics as a kid, and in the last year or so, I've been trying to do a headstand, and I didn't realize how hard headstands are if you're not in good shape.
You have to have so much upper body strength to do a headstand properly, and I think it's because you're actually not on your head. You want to be on your elbows.
And I'm assuming some core strength. Well, I managed to now do it, and now my next goal is I want to do handstands.
Whoa.
And I also want to do the back walkover and then have your legs be in the air.
I love that. You're like,
I'm not working on a special anymore. I just want to do like gymnastics.
My midlife goal is joining the circus. Kind of romantic. But I mean, I love doing stuff like that, and I love stuff like setting small goals like that you can do at home, because that's another dark side of yoga, which I think is unfortunate. And I know a lot of studios do have like donation-based classes, or they have like people of color like a day that those people can come, because like a lot of yoga ends up being like, especially in New York, it's this like a ton of rich business people, and then the classes are like $45, and you're like, how can I take a class? How can I do this?
Even when they're like suggested donation is $10, I was going 5 days a week, and that's what I would normally do at a gym anyway, that I was like, oh, going to a gym is actually cheaper than doing suggested donation.
Oh my God, that's $200 a month.
Insanity.
Insanity.
If I was paying $200 a month, then I can just afford Equinox.
Yeah. It's such a dark side of yoga. And again, check out Greenwood Lake Yoga Studio, because they have some very reasonably priced
classes. They're on the light side.
They're on the light side, and their teachers are so wonderful, and I promise they will not make the class about themselves. They will make it about you and about your healing experience. I've actually taken several classes there, and I loved every second of the last class I took there. It was like more of like a yin yoga, where it was like just end of the day on Sunday, like a thing to do to wind down, and it was so spiritual and amazing. But anyway, so like people are like, oh, I want to get into yoga. Like, how can I get into it?
Well, usually I think any of your gyms probably offer a yoga class, or just go online, and there's really a lot of like beginner stuff.
Yeah.
Also, beginner just means like, again, they're always like, if you can't do, there's modifications. They'll be like, if you can't do this, you can put your knees on the ground.
Yeah.
So you can just start doing classes like any vinyasa. They're never really intense online. And then the teacher will always give you modifications for beginner.
Yeah, I always say, like, I literally think anybody could go online and just pick beginner yoga, and it's probably enough that you could just do it in your home and just be like, oh, wow, I feel really good from that, and not be like, oh my gosh, I have now injured my sacrum.
Yeah.
And then when you start going, if you want to start maybe going to like one class a week or something, I would say either check out a beginner yoga class where they're going to fully instruct you how to do the poses, because at my gym, like the yoga class moves really fast. I know what I'm doing just because I've taken yoga classes for like years and years. So for me, it's not a big deal. But I look around, I'm like, your knee is not looking good, ma'am. Your knee is not looking good.
Yeah, you're really gonna hurt yourself here.
Yeah. So I would say take a beginner class just so you
Tell
can have
your
the
instructor.
teacher. Yeah, you have to have the teacher actually move your body, so then you can be like, I know what it feels like when I do this pose. But if classes are prohibitively expensive, just do like one a week and then do your practice at home, the other 2 days or something.
Yeah, I have to also, I enjoy whenever I travel, I like doing yoga in different cities.
I love, yoga what a fun thing to do yoga in a town.
As your morning routine. Most places offer it, but yeah, go online. That's an easy
I like planning to do yoga in other cities and then never doing it.
Oh,
and being like,
my
God, I didn't make it.
Yeah, and just getting the coffee afterwards.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh yeah, that's fun. Yoga and then a little breakfast afterwards. Oh, that's the best feeling. My favorite online yoga, I have to say, check out Jason Crandell. If you're a beginner, just check out Jason Crandell. He breaks it down so good. The videos are from like 91, I think, which I think it's like a little throwback. And then I also love, you could check out Yoga for Adrienne, see if she's for you.
She's behind a paywall, right?
She has videos that are available on YouTube, I think. I think she probably has some available, but a lot of people now, are doing, if you have a big following on YouTube, I feel like people they do start going to Patreon.
Oh, how did she become big? That is the person everyone talks about for online yoga.
Really?
Yes.
I don't know how she did it, but she's also the person, like the personality type that people hate of yoga, right? Like, hey, everyone.
Hi, I'm in my living room of
I had a spiritual experience on the bus today. Yeah. And I'd like to share it with you through motion with my dog, Guru Benji.
At my $2.3 million Austin home.
Yeah. She's got an Austin vibe. I mean, no, I like her. Why am I dragging her?
I
said I was going to keep it positive today. But the person that I absolutely adore, my number one yoga person, is 5 Parks Yoga. This woman is so great. She keeps it spiritual. She makes it easy to follow along, and she has a lot of different levels. So you could do like a beginner class. She has different other videos where she breaks down poses. Again, 5 Parks Yoga. That's one you have to check out. She's really great.
Yeah, I still do yoga to the people on YouTube because it's free, and they have so many live stream classes that are now just like regular YouTube videos with lots of instructors, and I just put it on shuffle so it's different. But I do tell you, you get some really like funny instructors. Like I got one that seemed like a Long Island cop.
Oh my gosh. Yes, that reminds me. I had a yoga instructor named Barbara who was from Long Island, and she would do Kripalu yoga, which Kripalu is like, I don't know exactly what the practice is, but it's a type of yoga from a yoga center that is, I believe, in Massachusetts. But her yoga was like very gentle, like moving the hips, like getting your body like in the right shape by like circulating the fluids, It wasn't like an intense class, but it was so good. But she would literally be like, and now we're going to downward facing dog. Here we go.
At the end of the day, you're going to want to not stretch as hard. Yeah.
Oh my God, Barbara, shout out.
I get great. Like with some of the instructors, you're like, oh, Cammy's a kook. I love Cammy. Richard. Yeah. And then I am like, Haven, purist. She's a purist when it comes to yoga. She's like one of those teachers that you're only doing 4 poses for 1 hour because she makes you hold it for an insane amount of time. And I'm like, this Haven, you bitch.
You bitch. I think that's actually good in a way where that's the whole model of yoga to the people, right? Is that because you don't get attached to the instructor, it's like you're actually releasing. You have that experience of impermanence, which is like an important lesson to learn. I think that is the whole reason why they rotate the teachers like that. I feel more like yoga is like therapy, where you have to kind of like try different teachers until you find one that gets to you.
Yes.
But I do like that approach because ultimately I do think yoga can be like a practice room for life, because there are, on a certain level, there are so many things like you don't know what's coming up next and you just have to handle it. And sometimes you're tired and you're still going through it, or you're learning to do something and you're trying and trying.
Well, Oddly, there is one lesson that I've learned through yoga that actually works in life really well. You know, they say a lot of times, like if you're doing yoga, the chair pose, which a lot of people find painful or just annoying because you're holding a pose for a really long time. But they say when you smile through a pain like that, I have to tell you, it works. And it's something that you can go through when you're like, I'm highly uncomfortable, but I'm going to just take it and be like, it'll be almost done and I'm just going to smile through it. It changes your mindset a little bit. Yeah.
I love that. That's the outside, like the outside in, right?
Yes.
Now, my last thing to talk about, since we're running out of time here, I wanted to talk about one thing about the dark side of yoga. And I remember the first formal yoga class. No, one of the first classes I took, this was when I was in college, and I would get up and take this class every day. The teacher was so fun. She was like a young girl, and it was like just a fun, great class. And there was another girl that came, and one day she accidentally queefed, and I felt so bad for her.
I've never been in a room where that has happened. I have queefed inadvertently through sit-ups in the privacy of my own home.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah.
I had one where I was at Yoga Sutra, and again, I was taking a intermediate class, and I had kind of burned myself out in the warm-up. I was like, wow, this class is really easy. And I was like, yeah, that was the warm-up, you stupid. Anyway, so we're doing the king of all poses, the shoulder stand, right? And the shoulder stand is one where you actually are standing on your shoulders, your neck and head are out behind you, and you're supporting the rest of your back and your abdomen up with your hands.
Queef position.
Prime. And what always happens for our male listeners, if you don't know, I'm just going to break down the journey of a queef for you, is usually what happens is you feel some air suck in, and then you know that it could happen at any time.
And so there's no controlling it.
There's nothing you can do about it. So I'm in shoulder stand. I feel the air come in. I was like, oh my God, I need to keep this in until I can find a safe place to release. The instructor comes over to me, he's standing above me, and he picks my legs up and he starts shaking my legs up and down. Meanwhile, I have air.
Did you know that you took in air through
He had no idea. He just thought he's helping me align. Helping me align. I am holding on to this air for dear life inside, using my root lock, my mula bandha. And finally, I just started laughing because I was like, I'm about to queef in this guy's face. And when I started laughing, he stopped and was like, oh, okay, like you need a minute. I was like, I'm sorry. And then I just came out of the pose. I don't remember what happened next, probably because of the adrenaline that was coursing through my body.
In the moment.
I don't think I ever actually let it out, or maybe I like crawled to a corner and just like let it out when like during like a loud singing or something. But like that is, if you were a lady doing yoga,
it can happen.
It can happen, and it does happen. And I've also heard it happen in other times, or like farts in yoga, and it's like, you know what, if it does happen, don't let it ruin your experience of yoga, because you're a queen and everyone does it.
I feel like most instructors would be like, that means it's working.
Yeah.
They will put a positive spin on it. What did the girl do that in your class that did it? What happened?
Never came back. She left the class and she never came back, and I felt
she
so
left
sad.
at that time.
She kept it together, and then she I think left during the shavasana.
See, my technique is then you do an ha or an HAM over it out of nowhere. Wow, I'm really relaxed.
Oh, wow. I am very relaxed.
Make a joke of it.
Everybody.
And stay there out of spite.
I'm not going anywhere. I won't be queefed out of my own yoga studio.
Lady
Guys,
Journey.
Thanks for listening. And hey, please make sure you subscribe to our YouTube, and please make sure you give us a review on iTunes.
Yes.
And check out Greenwood Lake Yoga for an amazing yoga retreat in upstate New York. So Lady Journey.
Lady Journey.